Thank you for watching Hack the File. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about leadership in the workplace. Enjoy. All right. So, some of these videos, I'm going to make for um, a podcast, right? So, if you go to my channel, you can go on my podcast, and I have a couple different um, videos that are set up for talking about cyber related things or just talking about the workplace in general. And I wanted to touch on a topic that I'm seeing more and more um, happen, right, in the workplace, and it has to do with poor leadership in the workplace. So, so I have a I would say a very good interest in leadership. So I believe that a good leader is rare, and it's not only rare in the workplace; it's rare in the universe. Okay, uh, the whole entire universe. Okay, because there's probably many leaders, right? Let's just say in the work, we're going to switch back to the workplace. There's many leaders in the workplace, right? Every workplace has a leader. Now, um, they have to have leaders, right? Or else, how are they supposed to function? So if you go to a mechanics, let's go a Jiffy Lube or whatever. Just give an example, and they they have a team there. They have a business. There's going to be leaders, shift leaders, supervisors, overall manager, right? Um, so there's an abundance of leaders, but how many of them are actually good is what the question is, right? Because this is where we're basically um, in lack of, because it's rare to have a good leader. Now, going back to the universe, let let's say you have a comet, right? And you have another comet that's coming along and it hits that comet. That comet will get hit and go off in the universe, and that comet that just got hit by the lead comet, let's say, could hit a planet and destroy life, or can hit a planet and create life, right? It all depends on where it's led. Now, um, that lead comet is the leader. Now, rarely do you see in the world, in our workplace, or anywhere, do you see good leaders that are leading these comments or these employees to create innovation or creativity or anything like that, right? And usually they're there and they're just destroying. So there has been, I've had a couple of experiences, okay, and in my life, in my work life. I'm 41 years old, going to be this year, this coming year. And um, I've had my share of different jobs, right? And I've encountered many terrible leaders. I've encountered a couple great leaders, but of more terrible ones than great, right? Because that's I think that's the rule of thumb. Um, now let's go into something else, right? Let's go into how we elect leaders and how we put somebody in charge of us, right? Usually, it's the person that um, has been there the longest is our default, right? Somebody's been with the company 10 years, the position becomes available, they apply for it and they get it. They know the job, they have the technical savvy, but they're not really leaders. Okay, not natural born leaders. They haven't gone to school to learn how to lead. They're probably not even interested in leading. They just want the paycheck. They want that money, right? And so they take the job, they prosper with their family, which is it's a blessing and it's a great thing, right? But um, h- how many how many of these people that are doing it that way, and how many lives are they going to affect, and the prosperity of the company as well, right? So let's now if you don't think it's that serious to have a good leader, let's go ahead and put this in perspective. Okay, let's say you have. No, no, let's take this back to the hunting and gathering. Okay, let's say you have um, villagers that certain villagers go out and they go hunting, right? Let's say they go hunting the buffalo, right? Let's because we're in America. And then you have certain members that gather, that go and gather, right? So and let's say the the ones that go out and hunt the buffalo, let's say they have a leader because they're gonna have a leader. There's going to be one in that group that's the best at it. I mean, it's just what now whether he's any good or not is dependent on how good the rest are, how creative and how innovative, or how whatever his other team contributes, uh, which will escalate him or rise him to the best, right? Or push him to be even better, right? So that leader um, takes his team and goes and hunts the buffalo. Now, there's luck and there's elements and other variables. We're not going to go into all that, but uh, ideal. I mean, the bottom line is if that leader is not effective in managing his team that he took out to go and hunt that buffalo, they're not going to come back with one, right? Now, if he's a good leader and his team is efficient and he is good, and they go and get that buffalo, they're going to bring back the whole village um, benefits from it. They eat. Now, so that's the simplest version of right of, and we all know this. Oh yeah, we already know about all that. A good leader, but I don't think we do, because time and time again, what we're doing is we're taking uh, people in a company, which is basically a small village of people that are trying to get something done right together as a team, and putting bad leaders. Now let's take the way we usually um, promote our leaders and put that into that buffalo scenario. So let's say in that village, the eldest in the one that's been in the village, the eldest at the time, let's say the oldest person's 40. He's been in the village, he's the eldest, and he gets to be the leader of the buffalo hunting, because he used to be a buffalo hunter. He wasn't too good, but he knows how to do it. He's mediocre buffalo hunter. He's done it before. He doesn't really want to lead the buffalo hunters because he's but he does want the benefits, because it does come with some prestige and extra benefits. If they do, when they do catch a buffalo, he gets the majority of the share. So he's like, man, I mean, pretty good gig. So he goes and he gets his team together, and they go and hunt the buffalo. Sometimes they get them, sometimes they don't, and sometimes the company benefits, sometimes they don't, just like, or whatever. But so he takes his team and he goes out. Now you have this person that's been there in the village the longest. Is he the best at hunting that buffalo? Absolutely not. I'll be the first to admit it. Has he done it before? Yeah, but he did. His heart wasn't in it. He wasn't really good at it. Um, is that village going to let him go and hunt that buffalo? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are they going to appoint him to go do it? Absolutely not. They need to eat. It's more serious, right? But that's how it should be in our workplace too. It's very serious. We're all working. We need to eat. We all need to put food on our tables. Yet we have these poor managers. Nothing is said about them. Nothing is done about it. And this is what I'm talking about, right? That guy is not going to be hunting that buffalo. It's going to happen naturally that the best buffalo hunter and the best charismatic leader is going to take reign of that, have a team, and go out and hunt, and they're going to bring back the food because it's that important to eat, right? Now that's just a simple analogy, but it works, right? Because um, the workplace is becoming. It used to be that way. I'm sure of it. I remember it. I remember a time when I was working when I was younger in my 20s where our leaders were badasses. Whether it didn't matter what they were, women, men, woman or a man, it didn't matter. They were badasses. They were looked up to. They got stuff done. They knew what they were doing, and people followed them. And we were constantly hearing tales of success at company meetings. We did this, we did that. And while you were working there, you wanted so badly to be a part of that success. You wanted to be working next to the leader, next to you wanted to participate in what he was doing or she was doing to to better to be better. You want now, and it was the thrill of the hunt. It was the you know it was the leader participating and bringing people up, and they could have had their own style or not, but ultimately the success was your esteem, your self-esteem in that team. You weren't put down. I mean, if you were put down, it was to build you back up, but that's a different story, right? But um, and your team was succeeding, but you were all succeeding and benefiting. Okay, and now it's these leaders that are just out for themselves. They're out for themselves. They're out to promote themselves. They're they've been there the longest. They really don't. They really, and they'll tell you, I really don't want to do this job, but I'm getting used to it now. But then don't do it. Do not lead. Leading is a sacred. Listen to me very much. Listen to me. Leading, being a leader is sacred. It is something that is so rare. Being a good leader, not just leading, being a good, having the opportunity to be a good leader is a sacred thing. It is one of the main purposes and one of the most, I would say, the the best purpose or to have on this earth or in the universe, right? Because what it is that you have everybody's lives, esteems, goals, future, and there's a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of love and creativity and innovation on your shoulders. You can't if you have the opportunity, if any individual has the opportunity to lead, take it and try to lead well, because if you can't, because if you can accomplish that and continue to lead well and continue to get better, then I can guarantee you your soul will be fulfilled, and you will have fulfillment in life. It'll make you happy because what you're doing is you're doing something that not it's rare. Now, when you lead and you're leading and you just want to, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to see if I can do it. Don't do that to yourself. No, I know. I'll be the boss for a minute. I'll lead and this and that, and then that because all you're going to be doing then is taking on all the woes of it because they're coming and they're there. Instead of innovating and having courage and uniting a team, you might as well do what you think is going to better your team and better your situation and better your company. And since you have the power to do it, try to implement great ideas, great leadership, great cohesiveness, great promotion and building up, great expanse in your networks, in your company, and all that, in your product or in your relationships with your team, in the thought and the idea and the creativity of your team, contributing to ideas. It's all about ideas from then on, right? Uh, if you do all that, no matter what the naysayers say or whatever, um, you will have been on a path to actually leading. Now, if you're not doing any of that, or you're not trying to focus on any of that stuff, even 20%, 40%, and you're just focused on what you think you should be doing, you're doing it wrong. I would say you're doing it wrong, and that's what a lot of these managers are doing. They're doing it wrong. So because they don't know what they're doing, they've just been appointed that because nobody else wants to do it, or they've been there the longest, and this is a problem with how we're um, hiring our leaders. We need to stop doing that. Now, there's a lot of these companies that are actually hiring leaders with some kind of leadership degrees. I would say go that route, or you can see, because I don't talk in just this or that, you know. And that wants me bring me to the books that I've read about leadership and the stuff I've studied, right? So here's one book, okay? This one's called Creating Great Choices by Jennifer Real and Roger Martin. Now, I read this I got the paperback of this. I'm almost tempted to buy the Kindle version and make videos of this. You guys let me know if you want, but this book right here is a great book. Okay, A Leader's Guide to Integrative Thinking. Integrative thinking, um, I would say if you're interested in leading, you need to read this book. This book helps you. Um, Basically, they call it the opposable mind. Having your mind like a thumb, right? Um, to problem solving. And you can read this and get whatever you want out of it, but what I got out of it is that there's no either or situations, and you shouldn't compromise when you can try to solve a problem where the solution benefits everybody, right? But there's way more to this book than that. It's not that simple. That could be like a basic premise, right? But this is, I would say, one of the best leadership books I've ever read, and I've read a couple of them. Right, I haven't read a lot, so let me rephrase that. This, I would recommend, is a good book to read. Right, I enjoyed it. I loved it, and I took a lot of it to heart. Right, Harvard Business Review Press, and Leader's Guide to Integrative Thinking, and this is one way leaders need to think, right? And it's not a thick book. It's a pretty short book, but it's packed with power. Okay, and Another a video I would say you should watch is, or Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni, right? It's a TED Talk, and basically this video goes over what the ideal team player is, and it goes over what are the toxic ones, right? So here's a little example.
When it comes to teamwork. So let's talk about these three virtues. Let me introduce you to them and then talk about how we can identify and improve ourselves if we're lacking any. So the first virtue of ideal team player is by far the most important, and it is humility. If you want to be an ideal team player and if you want to be successful in life, you really need to be humble more than ever.
So what this guy does is he goes over all the qualities, right?
Above and beyond, important that we learn the accidental
And
estimate.
he's saying be humble.
One day I said,
smart.
you're going to have to leave this company when you're good and ready. And we call this the skillful politician.
Okay, so he says, be humble, be hungry, be smart, right? But he says the ideal player. I'm not gonna play this whole thing. You guys can look this video up. It's a great video. Just pause it and type that in. It'll come out. I recommend watch this video. So it says be humble, be hungry, be smart, and the ideal team player is somewhere in the middle, right? And his talk here, if you've got too much of one thing mixed with this, you're this kind of team player, and there's a lot of poisonous players. You want to be in the middle of all that. If you're too humble, and then so I guess, like, if you're hungry, humble, but you're really smart or whatever, then you're considered a skillful politician. Now he's going to talk about. I'm gonna let him talk about it real quick. And I've known a couple of these people in leadership positions that were skillful politicians, and the reason is because they know how to appear humble, overly humble, but they're in it for themselves. And he says it exactly. They're usually at the rise to the top because you're going to see, oh, they're such great people, they're great team players, they're so humble, they're the best, they know how to suck up to people, and they use that to usually get to the top, and they usually climb their way to the top like that. But then when you look around, there's a pile of dead bodies behind them, because they're the ones that are at the top still, and everybody around them, they got fired or whatever, and they usually like to degrade other people's works, to help them rise to the top, stepping on their necks to get to the top. So, and then he says it perfectly, and usually they're in leadership, right? And that is the most poisonous individual, I would say. Well, there's a lot, but here's his little.
I'm sure your mayor here is not the person who is hungry. They really want to work hard. They're ambitious. And they're smart. So they're really good at dealing with people. But they're not humble. And we call this the skillful politician. I'm sure your mayor here is not the skillful politician in this sense. No, she's probably a skillful leader, but not the skillful politician in this sense. Skillful politicians are so smart that they know how to portray themselves as being humble.
See?
Which is a very dangerous thing, because what they do is they interview well, they go to meetings and they say the right things, they know how to kiss up to the boss or the coach or the teacher. The problem is, deep down inside, it's about them, not about others, and by the time we figure it out, there's usually a trail of dead bodies hidden in closets around the organization. I once worked with this guy on the team that was a skillful politician, and he was so clever at hiding it. He was so clever that he was even Canadian. You see, you would never suspect a Canadian. They're always so nice. You would never think they would be that way. And we would go to meetings, and this guy would be so good with people, and we thought he is the ultimate team player. He's wonderful. And then after a while, we realized, man, his salary has tripled. Half of his colleagues are gone. He's been gaming this. The truth of the matter is, when a person lacks humility, but they're good at presenting themselves, that can be a very dangerous thing on a team. Okay, so what do you do with this? First of all, I don't want you to misuse these labels. Don't go back to work and say to your boss, hey, I think that you're an accidental mess maker. Or tell your mom she's a lovable slacker. You know, that's going to get you into trouble, and it should. Apply this first to yourself. But then I want you to do this. Here's a very simple activity. Go sit down with your team at work.
So I mean, this video right here is a great video. So what are we talking about here right now? I'm gonna make this a quick video. We're talking about um, bettering yourself, right? We're talking about um, enlightenment. Okay, everybody knows what enlightenment is, to enlighten your mind, right? That's another thing that we're lacking in the workplace is enlightenment. Um, a lot of people are focused on themselves and other people's work quality and all this stuff, and whether they're getting the job done right and all that, which is you're supposed to try to do the best, but there's ways to go about that, right? And nobody's trying to be enlightened. Nobody's trying to see things from other people's perspectives. That's another thing. Perspective taking. Take a perspective on somebody. And now this is something that I would say everybody should do. Right? Is if you don't like somebody at work because of their work sucks or whatever you think they suck or whatever you think about them, it's not. It doesn't know this. It doesn't mean it's true. You don't know everything. Nobody does. So if you're judging first of all somebody and saying they suck, and I know they do, you are not absolutely right. You are absolutely wrong because you don't know everything. You don't know what that individual contributes other than what you're looking at. So and you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know who that person is. You don't know anything about them. You're just judging them on basic things that are affecting your life negatively, right? And so take the perspective of him or her for a minute too, and then that helps as well. I have a personal story on that, but I'm not going to go into that. Um, it's enlightenment, right? You're trying to work as a team with people, right? So uh, one thing I want to talk about before we end this video, right? I got about 4 minutes, 4 minutes left. One thing that's related to all this, I would say, is your training, right? So when you go to, I'll give you an example of what a leader should be doing. When if you're a leader, and if you're watching this show, and if you're watching this or listening to this podcast or you're watching this video, take this in mind. Do me a favor, if you're leading a company, right, and you're watching this in any kind of way, supervisor, low level, high level, whatever, I don't care, you know, and you're in charge of a team, and you hire somebody, right? Let's say you hire somebody, and it's a small team. Let's say you team of five, and you hire somebody, and you don't have a training guide of any sort set into place that will help that new individual get trained or on board with what you're actually doing. You have two things wrong in that scenario. One thing, you don't have anything set up in place for people to learn, new people to train. That's terrible. Two is you might not be in touch with what you're really doing, and that's even scarier. That means that you don't even know what you're supposed to be teaching or training your team on, and your team doesn't know because you didn't collaborate together to create this training guide. Now that's even worse. Now if you don't have anything like that in place, get on it, because that is the number one complaint about new employees. There is no training put in place, and then they go and look for another job, and then you lose a potentially great team player to another company. And if they have it set into place, they're going to stay there and they're going to flourish, and they're going to potentially be a great asset on a team. And you just lost somebody because, rightly so, you do not have anything in place. You are lacking. Now, does that mean that you should go jump off a bridge? No. Watch videos like this. Um, read books like the many different hats and stuff, and it's another book that's a great book of problem solving. Read problem solving books. Get creative. Think creatively and get innovative. Sit there and go, what is the most effective way to come up with with a basic training guide? Okay, here's my idea that I came up with off the top of my dome just by doing this video, right? So if you have time now, a lot of companies don't have time, and I have worked in a bunch of them where you don't have time to do all this great things that I'm gonna say, right? But in reality, you need to make time because a little investment goes a long way, man, if it's done right. So I say that a lot of uh, companies don't have enough time, but that's just an excuse. Make some time, a little bit of time every week or every day, right, or whenever you plan on doing it. But here's a little idea on how to get together a, a, a training guide for new employees. First, throw a meeting with your team. Now, if you have a large team, that's different. Then you might have to get more creative and break those up into little teams of five and have a representative or whatever, right? But that's on you. You know that's the easy part. The hard part is and it's not even hard. I would say it would be fun and creative to show your creativity. Get your let's say you have a team of five. Let's just make it simple, right? Because we're gonna break it up in five as if it's really large anyways. You have a team of five. Okay, you're the boss. You're the leader. You can make this happen. Have a 20-minute session once a week, twice a week. I mean, it's not really that big of an investment. And have them you need to work too as a boss, or you need to get delegate that to somebody that's not too busy. Don't overburden them. Give it to somebody that tell them what you're going to be working on. Ask them if they would like to work on that. Some people love to work on creative things. Some people would love to work on the training guide if given the opportunity. So we might as well give it to them, right? Don't force people, but say, hey, would you like to do this? I think it's something to be fun. If not, do it yourself. What are you there doing? You need to get it. You need to get into the trend. You need to create yourself, your stuff as well. So as the leader, get together and say, look, um, what are your ideas? Let's brainstorm this. What are your ideas on what a new employee should learn right off the back, so they're not sitting there twiddling their thumbs and wondering what they're even doing in this company? Okay, so the first thing you throw up is what's your main job here, right? But not description. That's ridiculous. That's going to confuse them. Something like um, we do this, we do that. This is one of our tasks. Write it up on the board. Okay, now give me um, definitions. Here's one definition. Okay, write it on the board. Because when somebody is learning in a new company, they're completely lost, and they're going to hear definitions on certain slangs or words that your company uses. They're not going to know what that is, and they're taking in information at such a fast rate. They're going to write notes down. They're going to forget things. Why leave it to them and put everything the burden on them? That's terrible. They should be doing that regardless, right? But when they forget something, or when they don't, when they they don't get something down right, or they miss something, they can refer back to the training guide and go, "Oh, that's what that is." Instead of as opposed to looking through 1,000 different documents and trying to figure it out. It seems like a lot of these companies want to hire somebody and then put them through a test. Like, they've been through enough tests in school, especially if they're graduates. Why put them through more tests? That's ridiculous. Why don't you just train them? So putting somebody through a test is I would say is the lazy way, and you're not promoting cohesiveness and teamwork. So the team gets together, they're brainstorming and they're putting ideas, they're being allowed to contribute, not just work, great work or whatever, but ideas into something, right? So their ideas go into it, and then all at the end you ultimately have something of beauty that is going to help the new guy come in and learn. And so that new person comes in and has some kind of reference guide of what he's doing, some kind of concept. They get wonderful training at the start, and then they're told to ask questions, and they can ask, so it's the cliche, hey, ask questions if you need me, mixed with they have the answers right there, right? Or they should have some answers there. So you're not compromising. What you're doing is you're making a great little reference for new employees. That's a basic idea I just came up with last night when I was thinking about making this video, and it'll work. Now, depending on your team and how much they want to get involved, if they're not getting involved and they're not contributing ideas and they're kind of stale, then you need to spur that anyways. You need to get your team thinking. But well, what is the point of having a team if they can't be creative and they can't put their ideas up? Now, do you take every idea? Maybe not, but you absolutely consider every idea, right? And that's another thing. You don't put people down for sharing. You don't or none of that stuff. Now this is part of being a leader, is making the team function more creatively and more efficient, and more where everybody prospers, everybody contributes, and everybody's efficient. And I would say that's a great team, right? And you have everybody on the same level, and you have everybody. Now, when you have a team leader that basically does none of that, and is, let's say, figures that their job is to just um, put find all the bad doings of their employees, to to build a case against them, to ultimately tell them, now you have an ultimatum. Now either you do better at all this work or you're gone. And then they have it in paper, in writing, and they built a case against you and all that stuff. That I would I would say that is a terrible way to lead, and you're going to lose very good employees, even though that leader thinks that they're not good employees. The reality is that's not a good leader, and that's just lazy, and it's just terrible. And so this is the state that we're at in leadership, right? It's not taken seriously. It's in the majority of it is not taken seriously by the leaders themselves, and it's not taken seriously by the people that appoint the leaders. And I would say even the surrounding leaders, it should start affecting the surrounding leaders, because if you have somebody that's saying, I really didn't want to do this job as a leader, and I really, I'm getting used to it, and it took me a long time to get used to it. I would say that kind of attitude will spread into other leaders, and other leaders are gonna and think like, maybe I should be thinking like that. Maybe that is true, you know, and that's not a good thing. You need to have that. I was born to do this attitude, or don't do it at all, or I'm going to try to make the best of being a leader and implement a lot of my ideas and a lot of my originalities to this leadership role. Or what's the point of doing it if you're just going to do it half-heartedly, or you're just going to do it um, like everybody else does it? You're going to come in and be the same thing the old leader was that left. That's even worse, because that means that you're not even being original. You're not even trying to put your own mark on it. That's another thing. You know, a lot of, and it's not necessarily the leader's fault. The team could be absolutely negative, and the team could be absolutely hard to work with, and that's even worse. I mean, that's what this video is about. This video right here is about our, team members evaluating themselves, and this is more for team players. And sometimes a company can have a terrible team, and I would say you need to get them on board with creative thinking and get them on board with change and prosperity and cohesiveness and unity, and trying to become like that village that's successful, that's eating the buffalo, right? It's eating and having fun and prosperity. If you can't get them on board, then you're gonna have to let them go. That's just the way it is. You got they don't fit, right? And um, but you need to have them on board with something that's positive, not negative. Like so that's just my little rant about leadership, right? In the in organizations. And I'm telling you, I've worked for many a company, and I've seen my fair share of great leaders, and I've seen my fair share of terrible, nasty little people in leadership that with any uh, that with any opportunity, I would say that somebody with a better mind state and less technical knowledge could do a better job than the person in place. And that's the sad part of it. You know, there I've seen leaders that are so terrible, and they're constantly losing people in their workplace. And they're chalking it up to, oh, well, that was a bad employee. Well, she wasn't good at her job. Oh, this guy sucked. Oh, this and that. Or, well, they just left. And a lot of these people aren't going to say anything because they're just going to leave, right? They don't want the drama. They're not going to play into your sickness, or the leadership sickness. But uh, that doesn't help. So then they're, that company never gets better, and they're just a revolving door of just losing people and making excuses for themselves. And um, that can change, and that has to change with the leadership and their mind state, and their lack of caring what's going on in the workplace. Ask questions. Hey, why is everybody leaving? Hey, is everybody happy? What are we doing? Get them involved. Give them a training procedures. Um, have a structure in place for, if you think something, they're not up to par in their work, how to get them up to par right away, not a year later. Build a case against them, and then in their annual review, unload total just hell on them of all the bad things they did all year, and expect them to have the heart to want to do the work still. They're going to leave, right? And that's reality, and that's what a lot of these managers are doing. And I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've seen it. And it's just a terrible thing. And the mentality of the of these leaders is, well, this company's going to be here after me, and it was here before me, so who cares, right? And it goes back to that village analogy. What if that guy that they appointed, that was there the longest, was said that in that village? Well, this village is going to be here When I'm gone, and it's gonna be here. It was here before me, and it's gonna be here after me. That's not a true statement, because if he has poor leadership in that village, then they're all gonna die if they don't get that buffalo back. So that village is not going to be there after him with his poor leadership, right? Because they're not going to eat. So yeah, so that's just a little the books I recommend watch this video. This is a great video, right? Um, like I said, Creating Great Choices by Jennifer Real and Roger L. Martin. Great book. Read it. Read that book. But when I say read these books, don't just read them. Try to understand them. Role play with them. Stand up and pretend you're a manager. I mean, what's wrong with adults pretending? Are acting out scenarios of imagination when it's positive. But when you're in the real world and you're actually trying to put it into place, don't pretend. Do do what you were practicing or pretending in your office at home when you read this book. Read this book. Throw in your mind some scenarios. Maybe put some, if you can't visualize, put some problems on the board. Try to solve them. Act out scenarios, and then if you do get a leadership position, or if you're in a leadership position, then act on them. Don't be cowardly. Be brave. Try to get the support if you can't get the support to make implementations or progressions in your team, right? To make it better. Um, Earn and grab the respect of your team, right? Do it. Don't be rude. Don't be an a hole. Don't be a lost little puppy. Don't be a scared human being. Those things gotta go when you're a leader. You're supposed to be uh, Conan the Barbarian or Red Sonja to your team. But like maybe a gentle twist or however else you want to run your team, but make sure it's positive and you are a leader and you are decisive and not cruel and uncompassionate and just all this other stuff just added to it where you just, man, it's just terrible. And another thing, don't fall into the sickness of these team players that are poisonous. If you can't recognize it because you're just as poisonous yourself, then you've got a problem and you need to fix that. And that's, I can guarantee you that somebody that's like that has problems in their like regular life as well, like in their family life with their sisters, brothers, somebody in their family have a um, poison as well. So it's not only in their workplace; it's in their life as well, and you need to stop that, right? Because no, we don't. As a leader, you don't need that. All that's going to do is make things worse. It's going to blind you. Then you're gonna have poisonous people on your team that you don't see that are gonna make it worse for you and make it worse for the team and segregate you guys and divide you guys. So there's a lot to it, but these books will help you clear your mind and get better at leading. um, there's a lot of great also programs like Boise State had a creativity and innovation degree, and a lot of people were like making fun of it. It's not even a real degree. It doesn't have a computer science attached to it, or electrical engineering or cyber or anything attached to it. Why would you do that? What kind of job are you gonna have? I'm telling you right now that I took a year of classes in that as an elective, and they were great classes. I got a certificate in creativity and innovation through it. And this is why I'm talking about all this stuff like this, is because of that great program at Boise State. and was a great experience. I had more fun, and I should have just kept with that degree, but I wanted to taste it, and I enjoyed it. But ultimately, I picked cyber because I was ultimately my passion was more in cyber, but um, I still had a passion. I mean, I had a passion for both, right? I liked creativity and innovation, but I ultimately chose computer. I mean, cyber. So, I mean, I don't regret it. I enjoyed those classes. So, look into stuff like that. Take some classes. If you're in leadership, take some leadership classes. Not in just leadership, but in I would say creativity, because the Wall Street Journal or somebody did um, or Harvard Business Review or somebody did a statistical study and asked um, 500 the top 500 Fortune 5 companies in the nation what was the main thing they were looking for in leadership, and you would think they would say a degree in business or a master's degree in business or organizational skills or whatever, right? No, the main number one thing that the majority of these Fortune 500 companies that are doing the best in the nation, right, are looking for in their leaders to lead their teams and companies, right? All these villages that are gonna eat that buffalo, not starve to death, right? In reality, I mean, that's your proof in your pudding, is creativity. Creativity. That's it. I mean, that's not it, but I mean, that's the main thing they're looking for is creativity. So if you're leading and you're watching this channel or not, whatever, try to be more creative. And with creativity is going to come compassion, and with compassion is going to come integrity, and therefore it's going to keep going and going and going and come full circle back to creativity spawns all that, and then eventually and hopefully you'll have a love for your team and a love for what the work you're working on, right? And that's your ultimate goal: to love what you do, to love your work, to love your team, to go into work and go, man, I love working here. Not to be a miserable leader that comes in and then says the same old cliches over and over again, like I'm an open book. Come and talk to me whenever you want. And then not show that in your actions, right? That could deceive the that could deceive some team members, but not all of them. And don't do the cliches. Cliches are get them out of your mind. I'm an open book. You can come talk to me whenever you want, or I think you're a good guy. I think you're all this cliches that have been said a million times. With a response to a boss. When you're talking to a boss about something and they say, well, if I do it for you, I'm going to have to do it for everybody. That's a cliche. Hey, I want you to succeed. Tell me what I have to do for you to succeed. That's a cliche. Those are empty words that have been spoken by poor managers for many, many years. Well, what do I gotta do for you to succeed? What does that even mean? I don't understand that. That's like the laziest response to an employee that a manager can give. What do I have to do for you to succeed? What do you need from me so you can succeed? Well, if that person knew, he wouldn't need you, would he? He wouldn't need you. He would know what he has to do. He wouldn't need you at all. You would serve no purpose. I would say a better way to do that is to work with that, get to know him, work with that employee, and find out what he needs from you for him to succeed. Because that person doesn't know. Obviously, he's not. He didn't. He's not asking you anything. He doesn't know what to ask you. That's a brain dead, uh, lead to nowhere, I would say, response to that. I don't understand that. But anyways, it's a cliche. It's an old. It doesn't work anymore. It never worked. It never worked. It was sayings like that were usually in bad movies. No, in good movies representing but played by the poor manager character sitting in his big desk, getting his big salary, tormenting a great employee. I mean, usually that was the movie, right? Is what I remember in the 80s. And he's like, you know what? Tell me what I have to do for you to succeed. And another thing is, remember, Mike, I'm an open book, so just come and read me anytime you want. You can ask me. I'm here for you. I mean, that's usually played by the lazy, just a character on a 80s movie, right? Boss, terrible. And you're sitting there and you're feeling sorry for that employee. And you're like, huh, this is a good movie. So trust me, everybody's got a lot of personal things they've been through. I'm no different. I've been through all that in my many different positions, and yeah, it's got to stop. So that was Hack the File. If you enjoyed this video, leave some comments. Let me know what you think. We want to keep. I'm gonna make some more of these little podcasts about certain topics about the workplace and leadership and stuff like that because I want to keep my channel right, and I want to make different content for different people, but it's all kind of interrelated. So yeah, that was Hack the File. I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed it.